Hey, welcome to the Relentless Positivity Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Martin. My guest today is Dave Mowry. He's a man he's turned his battle with bipolar disorder and severe anxiety into a story of inspiration, healing, and hope. And after losing everything, Dave found his way back through stand-up comedy, teaching others to find humor in their pain and shatter that stigma surrounding mental illness. And he also wrote a book. This book has been called the best bipolar disorder book of all time. Pretty awesome title right there. And I'm really excited for you all meeting Dave. Dave, welcome to the show.
Me, Joe. Happy to be here.
Yeah, that's exciting. That's pretty cool. We'll get to that book later, but I want to kind of go back because your journey from a successful businessman to losing it all due to your mental illness and then finding your way back through comedy. You don't hear that every day. So let's kind of take that. What was it about stand up comedy that kind of helped you regain control of your life?
I was pretty I had challenges. I had PTSD from the trauma, from being mentally ill and being having my last years, 14 last years during the worst time. And then I took the stand-up comedy class for people with mental illness and started looking for humor in my challenges, in my hard times, and the things that created the trauma and the flashbacks. And when I started looking for the humor in those experiences, it changed everything, changed the pathways in my brain. Instead of getting triggered and reliving those experiences and going back to those dark days and those bad times, I looked for the humor. I just started looking for the humor in that experience. And when I was driving along and I heard a song that reminded me and triggered the trauma. Uh, I decided I'd look for the humor instead of going back to that dark place. And the more challenges you have, the more material you have for humor. And boy, did I have a lot of material for humor. So that's how comedy changed my life. And then teaching it and performing it makes a difference in other people's lives. The classes that I teach, I see the same transformation happen in people's lives. It's very, very cool. And yeah, it's unusual, but it works. It's amazing. It
Yeah.
truly is amazing.
It's amazing what you can find, what you're looking for, right? So if you're looking for humor, it's really everywhere. You just heard that. And someone in his mental illness, he found humor. There's humor everywhere if you're looking for it. That's why I talk about positivity. It's there if you want to look for it. It's out there. So depending on what you're looking for. So you mentioned that you help others do the same thing through stand-up comedy. What are kind of some of your success stories from the people you've worked with?
Chloe is one, she was a doctor and she ended up not being able to practice medicine because of her bipolar disorder.
Wow.
She was suicidal, she was depressed, she was all these things. And her mother said she was close to committing suicide. And she came to the class, her mom brought the class, and Molly started looking for the humor in her experiences, and she found it, and it changed everything. Instead of being a failed doctor and losing everything because of the bipolar, she through the class and performing, she became a comic, and she sees herself as a comic, and it replaced the loss and the trauma and all that she had from not being able to practice medicine. She uses that in her humor, and again, it changed everything for Molly, and she sees herself now. If you ask her, what she does or who she is, she's a comic, and she
All right.
performs around town. She gets paid. It's a success story. It's really a success story. And then there was another lady, and she was obsessed with thoughts of her father. He left her when she was a child, and he went on to become a famous psychologist. And she was just obsessed with that loss and that experience. And she'd come, and when she went to a support group, she'd tell the same story over and over. And she came to the comedy class, and for the first two classes, that's where she went. When we talked and it was her turn, that's where she went. And I told her to look for some of the humor in those experiences. And she started to look for the humor, and her obsession about her father went away. She talked about other things besides that, and it helped her heal and move on. It was amazing to see it happen. So those are just two of the success stories, and there are many more. I taught stand up. I taught a class at the Oregon State Hospital, the mental hospital here in Oregon, and that was good. So I can say I taught stand up comedy to the criminally insane.
Oh, there you go. Hey man, I don't your resume is pretty dang impressive right there. So let me ask you this. So are there more than average numbers of comedians that have a mental illness? Seems like a lot of I know a lot of comedians, and I've seen kind of the top people. They talk about a lot of their struggles with mental illness. Is that just because they are able to harness that kind of that, make it into a superpower because they do have these traumatic experiences?
Think so. I think it's healing. It's a way to get things out. And like I said, the more material or the more challenges and things you have, the more material for humor. I see people with different, what I think are different mental health issues and comics and it's amazing that they do it. And maybe it's bipolar or maybe heavy anxiety or maybe panic attacks or some of those things. But yeah, there are a lot of comics that are in that situation. And Robin Williams is a great example. Obviously he was up, he was high, and he has lows. And when he was up and had his highs, he was totally amazing. And then when he had his lows, he was very sad and very depressed, and went through some of the same things I did, not being able to get out of bed, not being able to see people, and just hiding and isolating. But yeah, I think there's a fair number of folks that live with mental health challenges that turn to comedy. I'm not sure what it is about it, but yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So I got to ask. So you've performed a stand up comedy. What's the hardest you've ever bombed, and what'd you learn from it?
Well, first of all, I got to say, what I found. I'm telling my story one joke at a time, and I really like my jokes. Uh, they're laugh out loud funny, and the audience is always laughing. And so when I perform on stage at a show, um, I don't get nervous. I'm totally calm, and I've never bombed doing that. So that's and again, I like my jokes. I'm telling them almost for myself. But the audience, we had 200 people at Helium Comedy Club here in Portland, um, and people laugh. So I've never bombed at that, but I did an open mic, and for open mic, you get about 3 minutes. I thought, okay, I can do that, and I went in with my material, and most of the audience was other comics or people that thought they were comics, and they'd get it for their 3 minutes, but they'd be sitting out in the audience, and they'd have their arms crossed, and they'd be thinking, yeah, okay, make me laugh. And they were also wanting you to bomb, because they wanted to look good, and so they wanted everybody else to bomb. But I bombed there, and yeah, I got nervous there, and
That's a tough crowd right there.
it was a tough crowd. And my humor is mental health related, and mostly, and it takes a little preface in order for people to understand that and relate to it and get it. And in 3 minutes, there's not much time to make that. So
Man,
I went up there and started telling my jokes and with no context. And it was interesting when I first started performing. I'd look out at the audience and there'd be somebody that wasn't laughing, and I'd focus on them and try to make them laugh. And I did that a couple of different times, and then I realized that was the wrong way to go. And so I didn't. I just focused on the other people that were laughing and having a good time, and that helped me have more of a good time too. So that was an interesting experience. I think that's for comics that are starting out. I think that's a challenge that they face too. trying to make the person in the front row that has their arms crossed, trying to make them laugh instead of the rest of the audience that is laughing.
Yeah. I was on the opposite end. So I did an open mic and I think it was 4 minutes and it seemed like an eternity. It didn't go by too fast. It went by kind of slow. It went good, but yeah, I was on the other one. I was like, man, I can't wait to get off here. It was fun. I'm not sure if I'll do it again. I'll probably do it one day, but I gotta build my courage back up.
Actually, I was Las Vegas not too long ago, and I almost did it because I've got jokes now that are not mental health related, and uh, they're funny. And it's interesting when and part of my ability to teach the class and performance stuff is that if I think something's funny, other people do too. And I may not think everything's funny out there, but if I think it's funny, other people do too. So um, I developed jokes that aren't mental health related, and so I could go up and perform. But again, I thought about it, but it's I'll probably get there. I'll probably get there with the material the other material that I do. So
Yeah.
anyway,
My wife claims that 90% of my jokes are just for me anyway. So I'm right on the
yeah,
same way with, yeah.
yeah, exactly. And it's interesting, one of the reasons I married my wife is because she laughed at my jokes.
That's all it takes, right?
And then after we were married, I realized she laughed at everybody else's jokes too.
Just a good laugher. That's a good audience to have, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, do you want to hear any experiences or a little
Oh,
humor?
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, when I was during my dark days, my hard times, I was, I had suicidal ideation, and this is real, this is true, and I contemplated suicide, and went out to a state park, and I had a gun in my lap, and I don't know why exactly, but I did. So, but suicide is never funny unless it is, and that was a trauma situation for me, and then I looked for the humor in that. So I have a suicide joke, and when things were really bad and I was in my dark days, I decided to end it all. So I went up into the bathroom and I took a bunch of pills. Afterwards, I called my wife for help. She said there are more pills under the sink.
What does your wife think about that one?
She loves it. She
Okay.
loves it. I tell
All right.
jokes and she's in it and she loves
Okay.
it.
Good. She's a good audience. Like I said, we've already
She is.
established that. Yeah.
She's laughing right along with me. She was there during those. I mean, she's the hero of my story. She was there during those dark days. She didn't leave me. If she would have left me during that time, I'd be in a single room occupancy, hotel room, whatever room, eating in soup kitchen. I was that. I was that bad. So that was that was me. Let's see, another people, and that was me. And she stayed with me, and that support.
That's great. You got your good one right there. You got your
Yeah,
good.
I got a good one. So that's great.
So you got the hat on. I got to bring up the book. So OMG, that's me.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
it's really resonated with so many people. First, tell us about the book and why you think it resonated with so many people.
I was asked to blog for bphope.com, which is a mental health blog site. And that's one of, I think, the most popular, largest. Anyway, it's huge. And I was asked to blog for them. So I started blogging. And when a lot of their stuff was people, 3 steps to feeling better. And, that's the type of thing. And mine was telling part of my story it's 600 words at a time. So it was, again, openness, honesty, and I told my story about my experiences, and people related to that, and over 1 million people read my blog posts, and the most common response comment is, "OMG, that's me! You're telling my story." So people related to it. They finally, somebody's telling my story finally, and so I took the 26 most popular, I guess, popular is the right word, articles and put them in the book. Titled the book, "OMG, That's Me," and bipolar disorder, depression, anxiety, panic attacks, and more. And I'm just one of those people that got lucky and has them all. So I put them in the book, and again, it resonated. I've never been able to promote it or market it for myself, just haven't, but sold over 17, almost 20,000
Yeah.
copies. And for a self-published book, when you self-publish, and I'm sure you know, you sell maybe 50 copies to family and friends, and it goes into the ether. And but this one, you know, like you said, resonates with people, and it's out there. You know, the audio book I've got is out selling the paperback now, and which is cool. And I also wrote OMG, That's Me, for telling a story about six people who took the stand-up comedy class and the transformation happened with them and the humor. And the audiobook for that is out, and it's cool because you get the stories, but you also get the live part of the live performances
That's cool.
in there. And so you get the humor, and it's something that really resonates with people there. So
Yeah.
that's the story. OMG, that's me. That's how I got going on the blog post and then the book. And yeah, who knew? I mean, this whole thing, who knew? I mean, there's no way I could have uh, known that I was going to blog. People would relate, that I was going to end up
Yeah.
performing
What's some
comedy,
of the
teaching comedy.
kind of reactions you've got from readers and listeners of your books?
Again, mostly, you know, it's OMG, you're telling my story. And you know, nobody else is. You know, I know I read a book by William Styron about depression. He faced depression. He was getting an award, and he was depressed. And he told his story about that. And it was short, you know, just a short story. And I said, wow, you know, somebody else is going through this. And it just, you know, people don't feel so alone, and they get a sense of hope, I think,
Yeah.
a sense of positivity instead of the relentless negativity that you feel and you have when you have mental illness. Um, and people share it with family members. If someone wants to really know what it's like to live with mental illness, they'll find it in OMG, That's Me. It's the people with mental illness, it resonates with them. Family members finally understand what it's really like to live with mental illness. And professionals that work with the mentally ill, they get their training, they read about it in books, you know, but they haven't experienced. And when they read this, they're going, wow, you know, that's what it's really like. This is what my patients are going through. And it helps them with their patients. So, uh, you know, that's kind of the response. That's what's happening with the book.
Yeah. So your comedy obviously kind of pushes boundaries a little bit. It's a little bit edgy compared to some people. Uh, do you have trouble kind of walking that fine line between kind of being provocative and funny, but kind of being sensitive to mental illness and recovery and all that good stuff?
I think having lived the life, being there, you know, I don't. The people who appreciate the humor the most are the people that have the melons,
Yeah.
and they can relate to it, and they're the ones that, you know, had the relief and the release and the laughter, you know. So, and you know, yeah, I that's me, and you know, that joke's funny because it's talking about me and it's humor. Um, you know, the stories I tell, the jokes I tell, I mean, they're about me. They're not about other people. I don't make fun of other people. So that kind of takes the edge off when I'm talking about myself, you know. And yeah, yeah. So no, I don't. I mean, some things are appropriate, some things aren't. You got to know what is and what's not. You know, some things aren't funny. You know, trauma from, say, losing a child, or you know, having some things just aren't funny, but just about everything else is.
Yeah. Like I
And
said,
I've
there's
got
plenty of real material out there, right?
plenty of material. And I've got, having gone through it and found humor in my own experiences and then helped others do humor in theirs. I've got so many jokes. I can't remember that. I can't remember jokes. I can't remember.
You mentioned earlier about how you're calm and you're ready to go when you go on stage to perform. Do you have any routines or rituals, kind of your mental approach to get ready for that, or you're just naturally calm because you know you're ready?
Yeah, yeah, I'm getting my story out. I like my jokes. That's so important. And so I don't do any prep. I don't rehearse. When we do a performance with the comics that I've taught, we do rehearsal. And it's funny, the rehearsal, it's like doesn't go well for people, or they're doing this or they forget that. And but when the show comes on and they get up on stage, it's like, yeah, they just do great. They just do great. And again, people relate to their stories and their humor. And so it's amazing. You know, one of the worst, I had the manic depression, the bipolar, and but the anxiety that went along with it was the worst, because the mania would come and go, the depression would come and go, but the anxiety was constant. And one of the way it manifested itself for me was that if I went into a bathroom and anybody else was in there, I couldn't go. I mean, I'd go into a stall, I just couldn't go. So I'd have to leave the bathroom and wait for it to be empty, sometimes for 5 minutes, sometimes for half an hour. And then a few weeks, my wife Heather and I went to a movie. And after the movie, I went into the bathroom. Other people were there. And I went up to the urinal. And I went, and I realized at that point how far I'd come. And I stepped back from the urinal, and I went, yes, yes, yes. Everybody in the bathroom looked at me like I was crazy. I said, no, not anymore.
Oh man, I
So
think
that's
they know how
my,
to their phones out, but that would be pretty hilarious. But
yeah,
witness.
that's an anxiety joke. So yeah, I got a suicide joke. I got anxiety jokes. Um, I think there should be a dating service for people with mental illness. I can see the postings now. Paranoid white male seeks paranoid white female to share compound in Idaho, or paranoid female seeks male with no government connections, or my favorite, dual personality female seeks dual personality male for double dates.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and
So
on and on and on.
you've
So
been dealing with mental illness for a long time yourself. Have you seen, as far as kind of the perception in the media or in your own life, about has it changed at all since you've been going through all this?
yes and no. There are a lot of people, organizations that are trying to shatter the stigma. Uh, if someone has a mental illness or has lived with a mental illness, they can help shatter the stigma. They can tell their story, and that makes a difference. Too many times, the people that uh, are trying to do it are the helping profession, the therapists, the social workers, things like that. And they're the ones that, frankly, they're infantilized. Anyway, people with mental illness, because they want to take care of them, they want to fix them, they do that. And so they say, they're the ones that come out and say, okay, you can't say this because you might trigger somebody, or you can't say that because you might trigger somebody, uh, or you should do this or you shouldn't do that. And what they do is, instead of shattering the stigma against mental illness, they make it worse, because they're saying, people with mental illness are weak. We're not able to hear a word. One of the ones that comes to mind is crazy. People trying to get people not to say the word crazy, and everybody says the word crazy. But people with mental illness, they hear the word crazy, it means nothing. They're not triggered and whatnot. So trying to have people stop saying the word crazy to protect us, um, makes us look weak, and we're not weak. We're strong. We're what we've been through, and what the people I work with have been through. Uh, they're so strong and they're so able, and that's the story that needs to be told, and that when that's told by people who have lived with a mental illness, that's powerful, and that makes a difference.
Yeah, there you go. I like
Yeah,
this. Yeah,
yeah.
that's powerful. So, yeah, if you give one piece of advice, maybe someone listening right now, they're struggling with mental illness and they feel alone. What would you say to that person?
I learned that there is hope. You can have positivity. Now might be the worst day of your life, but there is hope and there is help. And I would say, and I don't want to say this selfishly because I don't make any money on the book, but if you can pick up the book or listen to the audio book, it's on Amazon and everywhere. read it and you'll know that you're not. And once you know, it, it really helps make a difference. And you can say, yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, yeah, and it makes a difference.
Yeah, just knowing you're not alone is so huge to some people. You might feel like I'm the only one suffering this. I'm the only one that feels like that. But just like you said, get a copy of that book and look. And you've told Dave, he's told 50 stories about how he struggled with this and gone alone, felt alone, but he wasn't alone. And he's been helping people struggle with the same thing. So you're not alone. So appreciate that message, Dave. So if people want to follow up you, they want to get your books, they want to keep up with all you're doing. What's the best place for them to go to keep up with you?
I think, the books, OMG, That's Me, on Amazon. Read the blog post at bbhope.com. I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn, but mostly if there's somebody out there that wants to talk, I'm here to talk. And so I share my email, and I always answer my email, and it can really make a difference for somebody. So Dave Mowry, the number 2, Dave Mowry 2 at gmail.com. If somebody's out there that is having a challenge or tough time or wants to know more, send me an email. I'll get back to you. I've been there. It makes a difference when you're talking to somebody that's been there. Sometimes people open up for the first time. And the other thing is NAMI, National Alliance of Mental Illness, NAMI. There's affiliates all over. They made a huge difference in my life and every part of my recovery. So look up your local NAMI, and there's some, you'll find other folks that are going through it, And I used to say, that's not me, and I pretend that I was okay. And when I found NAMI, it was like, okay, yeah, that's me. You didn't have to pretend that. And that was helpful, really helpful.
I said, hey, don't try to do this by yourself. If you're struggling, reach out to Dave, reach out to NAMI, do something. Don't try to do it by yourself. So Dave's out there. He's willing to help. He just said it right here. You heard him. You can rewind it and see it again. But he said he's willing to help. He's got his email out there. His books are going to have. If you don't feel like talking to him, get those books, listen to him, read them, whatever it is. And just know you're not alone. There's people out there like Dave. There's more people out there as well. They're willing to help you. So there's people out there willing to help. So Dave, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. Like if you keep that story in the dark, it doesn't help anybody. So thank you for that work and for helping comedians find their way, curing some mental illness through comedians. So that's a great way to do it right there. So appreciate what you're doing. Thank you so much for your time coming on today.
Yeah, thanks for you. I've listened to several of your podcasts. They're really good, and you're making a difference in people's lives. And I want to let you know that it's happening, that what you're doing. And so I really appreciate what you're doing. You're making a difference.
Well, thank you. We make a good team then, man. We'll have to have you back on.
We do. Yeah, I'll get in touch on the email, and I help you write some jokes.
That's great. I need some help for sure. So that's so I got second place. I got beat by a guy named Ogre, which is for my life that's pretty steady. So yeah, Ogre was really funny. So I got to.
That's great. Yeah, Ogre. That's not bad.
Yeah, you got to lose. It's not bad to lose to an Ogre. So
yeah, there you go.
Well, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hey, if you're listening right now, please share this message. Please share Dave's message of hope, that there's people out there just like you or struggling just like you, and they made it through, and so can you. And he can help you with that. So please share this episode, and please join us next week on the Relentless Positivity Podcast.